In today's video I want to review the trips that we took last year, 2024. And I always like to have a look back to what photographs I could take during the different trips, and I find it often quite interesting to see when I look at my photographs at a later time, with some time lapse between when I actually went out and took the photographs to when I review them again on the computer. I feel I have a more, let's say, objective view on the photograph. Right after coming back from the trip and uploading them to the computer, I often feel that I'm still so much emotionally connected to the experience itself that it's not so easy to have a more objective view on how the photograph might be viewed by other people. Whether the photograph has a real impact on the viewer, independent from my own experience that I had when I took the photograph. So these kind of reviews I do for myself also quite often, that I go back to trips and to photographs, and often I find what I found very engaging and interesting when I was in the landscape and when I edited the photographs, that a few months or even years later, this might not be the case anymore, or I find also the other way around. I see photographs that back then I was not sure about, and now they grow on me and I find them more interesting, more appealing, that I see and feel something, almost as if viewing the photographs now is an experience in itself. Of course it is, but it's kind of a different experience to when you are actually there in the landscape. So this is very intriguing to me, and anyway, let's dive in and let's see what we have. So let's start in January. So here in Germany, this is the middle of winter. So one of the first trips that we took is not far from here in the Rhön mountains. This is a nature reserve with lots of forest and hill areas. There are some moors. One of those is the red moor. So the photographs you see now, this is right when you come from the parking lot, and interesting sunlight filtering through the clouds now and then. So as you can see from these photographs, the light is changing from moment to moment, more bluish, or when the sun peeks through it gets more orangey. So the third photograph here, you see we are in the middle of the moor already. The ground is covered with berry plants, moor berries, and then you have birch trees and cedar trees that are especially suited to growing in the moor. Here, especially with this broken off branch, I like this photograph very much. Yeah, and there's a boardwalk on which you're supposed to walk. Looking left and right, you see often in the distance interesting photographs. So in this photograph here, you see an interesting shaped old tree And to photograph that, you need a longer focal length. So in this case, I was using a full frame equivalent of 70 millimeters. Here, this next photograph here, is broken off branches that when you look from this one direction, it almost looks like they are shaped like a heart shape. And here are some more photographs into the forest with some light filtering through. It looks almost mystical. And then on the way back to the car, the light has changed. In February, March, I got a new lens, my Olympus 100-400, and I took it for a walk. Photographs of birds that I managed to get. Birds are starting to build their nests. Here, two pictures of a colored woodpecker. Well, yes. And I like this photograph here with this otter swimming backwards. Looks very relaxed. So then we come into the middle of March. As you can see, the vegetation is still in winter, so there are on some trees you see old brown leaves still. These beech trees, they start to get new leaves around April, May. And until then the brown leaves stick. Here's a photograph, kind of a Moorish landscape. And here are a couple of photographs after the rain. So you can see the water drops that are clinging to the branches, and then the sun peeks through and lets them sparkle. This is why I like this kind of harsh light, very contrasty. Interesting area. We will go there more often, surely. So now we come into spring. And in late March, early April, we had a family reunion. We went to the northern part of Germany, and in the middle of what you consider the north of Germany, there's the Harz mountains. They're not very high, but very interesting landscape. And here you see some detailed photographs of a river. You see here from the color of the water that the sky was completely gray, but the sun was peeking through a little bit, and I find this surface very interesting. It doesn't really look like water anymore. Yeah, a silver birch tree detail. And some of those clouds in the evening. So there we did a lot of walks. There are many rivers and valleys and gorges in the Harz mountains. So here you see some details on those walks. These are taken with my Olympus OM-1 with an internal feature it has of long exposure, handheld. It's with a electronic neutral density filter, very interesting feature. And these photographs were taken without a tripod, just handheld. Half a second multiple exposure simulating the neutral density filter. And I was actually surprised by the quality, how these came out. Some mushroom detail. Here with this tree you see that the walls of this canyon are very steep, rocky surface. Very interesting landscape. The Devil's Pit, where the river has carved out kind of a bowl shape and runs through it with very loud noise. So then on the east side of the Harz Mountains there is stone formations that are called the Devil's Wall. It's hard to get a photograph here without people in it. Here's this area where you have kind of a cave walkthrough. Very interesting. This is a multiple exposure, of course. I had to take 2 or 3 pictures to get the inside of this cave lit up a little bit. So now we come next day into more sunny weather. We go up the highest mountain in the Harz range, which is Borken. And here you see the environmental problem that we have in many areas of Germany, but especially here in the Harz Mountains, with these monoculture forests of pine trees that had been grown here for many decades. Basically whole mountain sides died off. But photographically it looks interesting. Right? So as you go around the mountain a little bit, you see that the forest is coming back. You see old trees died off and then surrounded by newer trees. And this combination you will see more often here in the next photographs. I find very appealing photographically. It almost looks otherworldly to me. So now here you see we went for a walk in completely gray sky conditions. This is a lake high up on the higher areas of the Harz Mountains, which is called the Oderteich. And the color of the water here is very interesting. From the surrounding areas, the forest floor is very moorish, wet. There's a boardwalk around this lake. In many areas you couldn't walk otherwise, because it's very moorish up there. And you see the water drains from out of the moors into this lake, and this makes this interesting color. So here you see now what I was speaking of earlier, the new forest growing in between some old trees that were left standing. In some areas more, in some areas less. Very interesting photographically. I like these kind of otherworldly places. I brought my long lens with me for this photograph. And some detail. As you can see, the red beech is getting new leaves. Looking up in the sky sometimes pays out. And this is middle of April, very nice. The whole forest floor is covered with these flowers. And the smell, it smells like garlic. And the apple tree is full of blossoms. So here we went up into the Rhön mountains again. This is May already. And you see beautiful meadows with flowers. In June we went for a long anticipated trip to Scotland to visit my brother and his family. And first, of course, we went to his hometown in Edinburgh, and then from there we went into the Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park. Again, very contrasty light. The front row of the trees here is completely lit up by the sunbeams, and little in the forest it's completely dark. Yeah, in this photograph you can almost see the raindrops that are falling while the sun is shining. It's very strange atmosphere here. Here we went on foot up a mountain path to an overview over Loch Lomond. But what I found more interesting is the views in the forest. There were some very interesting old trees. I'm sure they have filmed some movies here. And the weather was changing rapidly. Storm clouds moving in, rain, clouds moving out, sun coming through. Perfect weather for taking photographs. So now we get into the highlands. This photograph here is taken in Glen Coe. Very interesting, very nice valley. There's a long single lane drive through. I'm sure you can also walk there, but we were on our way to Glen Coe, so we drove through there very slowly with our electrical car. In the old days when we used our diesel engine car, we were feeling more and more that it was not okay to drive through those national forests and parks and pollute the air. So here, this photograph, you can see these lakes. This is very close to the higher areas where you actually come to Rannoch Moor. Here, this waterfall is very famous. But I took it in a different way. If I had stepped a little bit to the right and moved my camera a little bit more to the left, you would see this triangular shaped mountain that is standing right behind it. But at this time of the day, it's completely backlit, so the mountain is completely black without any detail. So I excluded it from this photograph and just took a photograph of the waterfall instead. I'm not in the landscape to copy what other people photograph. I go there and look what is appealing to me in this moment. So here we did a walk. This is high up in Glen Coe. You can see the three sisters in the back. So here this is near our hotel, which was right next to a loch. There's a lighthouse on this island. So after Glen Coe, we went on to the Isle of Skye. Here we are near Glen Shiel. which is on the way. Very interesting light. I love that. And on the Isle of Skye, of course, we went to Elgol. It's a very interesting drive on a single lane road. The rain was pounding down, so we only went out of the car from time to time to take some photographs. And then the rain stopped right when we arrived in Elgol, and we could take a walk along the beach, which is only stones. And on the other side here of the water you see the Cullen Hills. And another trip on the other side of Isle of Skye to the Old Man of Store. The weather was very grey, so fittingly I decided to take black and white photographs here. Very interesting landscape. I love it. So now we reach summer, and every summer we have a 1-week vacation in the Rhön mountains in the middle of Germany here. The whole of Rhön mountains used to be a field of volcanoes, and you see from the stone formations that many of the mountains here have very interesting stone formations. Some of them used to be actual volcanoes that broke out, and some of them wanted to become a volcano, but the lava dome stopped. So on some of these mountains you see very interesting shapes formed by these lava domes. And some nice cloud photographs. Fleeting landscapes. So skipping a little ahead, we now come to fall, and fall, almost every year we go to Japan for our annual Aikido camp that we have there in Japan. And we use it, of course, also to prolong our stay there and do a 2-week or 3-week vacation before or after the camp. So here this year we went into the Japanese Alps. We rented a car and went to Takayama. And then here you see some photographs of this old mountain village Shirakawa-go. We were very lucky. On this day we were there, there was Fall Matsuri festival at the local shrine. Took a lot of pictures. Very, very unique Japanese experience. And this village also is very interesting. The shape of these roofs is world famous. They are so steep, and so to let the huge amounts of snow drift off, so the snow doesn't crush the houses. From there we went into the middle of the Japanese Alps to Kamikochi, where you have to park your car at the entrance and you can only take a bus inside, and then this takes you only so far, and then from there you have to walk. So we hiked about 11 kilometers to our mountain lodge alongside the river. Very beautiful up there. Some black and white photographs taken in the riverbed. Or in the forest. And of course we go to Japan not only for the camp and for the landscape, but also for food. I love Japanese food. So on our way back from Kamikochi, we walked on the other side of the river and found Myojin Pond. Very, very beautiful. So, and from there we went to the Kiso area, to a small town called Magome, where the old Nakasendo route between Kyoto and Tokyo went through. This photo here, obviously taken at night. Here I used a tripod. That's one of the 3 photographs or 4 photographs and the whole trip that I used the tripod. From there we walked one day the old Nakasendo to Tsumago, the neighboring town. Here in the mirror you see one of those old houses alongside the road. Beautiful waterfalls. And food again. So when you stay in Japan, please make sure you choose at least once one of those traditional ryokan where you get this kind of food. Or a rental car. A small, very, very, very small minivan, but it was good for 3 people and luggage, so perfect for us. Here are a few pictures from Osaka, where our camp was. And after that we went to Kyoto. So now you see some photographs taken in the city of Kyoto, in the temples. Kiyomizu-dera. Beautiful old streets of Kyoto lined with old shops and cafes. Here's some night photographs, small bar. And here, I'm not sure you can see it, in the middle of this small river, this bird standing. So the next day in Kyoto we went to Arashiyama and to Tenryuji temple. This is a very beautiful temple. I can only recommend you visit. Better not on weekends. It's very crowded on weekends. And here's a beautiful tree on the other side of the big lake that is in the middle of the pond that is in the middle of the temple. It's a small tree on the other side. So here I was using my 12 to 100 on the 100 end. So I could easily single out this one tree. That's why I love this lens. You see a little bit of what Arashiyama is famous for, the bamboo forest. Looking up into the sky. And some detail. So many tourists here, Japanese and from abroad. Matcha ice cream. And this is back in Kyoto in a big shrine right in the middle of Kyoto. walking home to our hotel. And some photographs from our day trip to Nara, the old capital that used to be capital before Kyoto in the 8th century. Again, this is only a small collection of photographs that I took there. Old trees. I love these stone lanterns covered by moss and other plants. Kasuga Taisha, the big shrine that is. And back in Germany. Fall colors. This is again the Rhine-Loop we went to for the 3rd time this year, in fall colors this time. I love these trees that are all in different colors, some already without leaves. And some detail shots again. So finally we come to winter, December 2024. And all those photographs are taken here only 3 kilometers from where I live on a walk. You can walk from our home there, it's not far. The temperatures are so low that in the morning the edges of the plants are all frosty. And a little bit of sunlight peeking through the fog. You see this photograph here is also covered in one of my other videos, but at a different time of year. All these photographs again here taken with my 12-100. And December. We went into the Rhön mountains. I wanted to go into the Black Moor, but this is, as we found out, closed in winter. The boardwalks are not safe, that's what the sign says. But we walked around the perimeter, through the forests and over the meadows, and as you can see, beautiful conditions. Didn't matter that we couldn't go inside. Very varied forest. You can see single pine trees, you can see stands of large pine trees undergrown by small ones. You can see bushy areas. And I love these conditions with these frosty edges on everything and a little bit of snow. Gives high contrast photographs. Here you can see how the frost and the wind has created these ice needles on the small branches and leaves. A single flower sticking out, dried and now covered with icicles. A little bit intentional camera movement. White behind the dark tree trunks. I had to try the ICM. And here walking back to the car. And you might not guess it, this is also December. Around Christmas we went to northern Germany, next to the biggest lake we have, the Müritz lake. And the whole area is a national park. And we managed to get some interesting photographs, even though we had no snow whatsoever. Visiting some relatives at the Baltic Sea. A nice stroll on the Baltic Sea. Beautiful beech forest next to it. Very calm sea. Almost no waves. Strange conditions. And here back at the Müritz Lake, walking in the national park. This is my kind of landscape. This was a trip back through memory lane 2024. As I said in the beginning of the video, I love these reviews for myself, to go back in my memory and look at these photographs and relive the moments, but also now when I look at it, it's another experience all in itself. And sometimes I go back to developing the photograph in a different way. Sometimes I do a version of it. So I have one old version from back when I took the photograph and a newer version from how I feel today. So very interesting to me. So there you have it. That was my review of 2024. Please let me know in the comments if you like this kind of video. Of course, it's only once a year, but I really wanted to do this for 2024 since I started my YouTube channel only in January 25, and I felt it would be a shame to not show these trips and photographs that I took in 2024, because I think there are some interesting and beautiful photographs in there that are worth showing. So I hope you like this video, so please like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.